Hello, BookTube. I have some mail for you on this, what day is today? Is this Thursday? This is Thursday. I have some mail for you. The first item I have to show you, it's out of its package. I got a package in the mail yesterday. I thought it was one thing, but it was another, and I didn't open it on camera. And I wish I had, because I could have had a boring talk about it then. As it is, I will fold the boring talk about this thing into the boring talk about the actual mail. And this I have to show you because I've already installed it. It's something I had to install. It's not a book, of course, but it's not a computer. I've got quite a bit of sassing from quite a few of you about, I admit, I have a bit of a problem buying technology. I buy technology. I have a bit of a problem with that. And that problem has been accentuated during quarantine because it's during quarantine that I have really noticed eBay. And oh my God, you can get a $60 computer on eBay. A $60 computer. And sometimes it'll be refurbished, sometimes it'll be under the heading of used. You have to use all of Sean D. Standfast's cautions about using eBay. What is the seller not telling you? I guarantee it's not an omission. It's very conscious on their part. What are they not showing you? Again, as he pointed out months ago, the pictures are very carefully taken. So they are designed to hide problems that they're not going to mention. And you have to watch for, little clues here and there, but even so, it's a fool's paradise for buying perfectly good laptop computers, Chromebooks, old MacBooks, old other kinds of computers. That has made the temptation all the greater, but I'm nevertheless going to resist. I got a computer in the mail this week, a Lenovo 14E for enterprise. An education market 14-inch Chromebook that I set it up and I used it a bit. Works just fine. One of the glories of Chromebooks is that it doesn't take, the riddle of the Sphinx to get the thing set up. You have one account. All you have to do is log into that account and it pops up on your new computer. I've been learning the ways of that computer fairly good. It has a very flat keyboard, which has made me very curious about gaming keyboards. Gaming keyboard consoles, not the ones that have all the rad bright lights, but the ones that are made for typing. Very curious about those, especially Bluetooth gaming keyboards that I can use in conjunction with an iPad, something like that. The ones that connect by a USB cord to the computer, to a laptop, when the laptop already has a keyboard, that's a little bit cumbersome. I don't know quite. I'm still feeling my way around there. I've been in touch with some gamers and the parents of some gamers, and the impression I get is that gaming keyboards can be used perfectly well for typing, for just ordinary typing of prose. It's not like they're a special dedicated thing, and they will definitely have a more pleasing tactile dimension, the clicks and the resistance of the keys and whatnot, and they also might be more durable. I'll have to look into that. I'll have to check. Any of you who maybe do lots of typing on a gaming keyboard, feel free to sing out in the comments field or in my email. I leave my email on every video. But the thing I want to show you is not a gaming keyboard. I mentioned the other day that one of my MacBooks, my MacBook Air, I have two relatively new, that's the problem right there. They're both from 2013. I have two 2013 MacBooks, a MacBook Air and a MacBook Pro. And I have older MacBooks. I have two older MacBooks that are from 10 years ago, before there was a distinction between Air and Pro. Those older MacBooks still work just fine. They still do what I want a laptop computer to do, which is surf the internet, play YouTube videos, generate prose, and email that prose to a third party. They still do all that. But they're a little bit cumbersome and the fans are a little bit weak on them. And I mentioned the other day that my MacBook Air was starting to give up the ghost. Its fan was starting to get conspicuously loud. Its battery was starting to drain conspicuously fast, sometimes in under half an hour from 100%. And that led me to think that maybe the thing was not long for this world. And, considering how much I've used it in the last 7 years, that's okay with me. It's not like I'm an outraged consumer. That's a pretty good lifespan for the use that I put that thing to. But when I retired it, I went through it and sort of pulled stuff off it that I might want. It still works. It still boots up. It's still just fine. But I retired it. I unplugged the plug from the power strip. I put the plug in the case with the MacBook Air, and I put the MacBook Air in the case away. And that suddenly drew my attention to my MacBook Pro, the only MacBook that I currently have that's anywhere near new. It's not new. I should go on eBay and get a 2018 MacBook I could probably get one for $300, and that would be, I would solve a lot of these problems right there. But instead, and I may do that. With the next checky poo that comes in the mail, I may do that. But in the meantime, that drew my attention to my MacBook Pro and made me ask, okay, well, what don't you like about the MacBook Pro? Now, there's one thing that I can't do anything about, and that's the play of the keys. The keys are stubborn. And I don't think you'd notice. I don't think a normal user would notice. But I type several thousand words on this machine every day. On any machine that I'm using, I type several thousand words every day. That's a little bit outside of what most people type on their MacBooks with. And the keys on the MacBook Pro are not the best at all. In fact, it was the key play on the MacBook Pro that had me start to wonder about gaming keyboards. But again, I would have two keyboards then. And I don't know, that wouldn't work. I don't work at a desk. I work on my lap. I work on a couch with a bean right next to my head. So I'm not going to work at a desk except for rare occasions anyway. Because she can't be on the desk with me. If I put a bed on the desk and tried to put her on it, she would go nuts. Nuts. So I'm not going to bother. But so I looked at the MacBook Pro and I thought, okay, what don't you like about this? What is disinhibiting you from using this? Or inhibiting you from using this? And the keyboard play is one thing that I can't do anything about. But then I thought, well, what else don't you like? Bloatware is one of the things that I don't like. All the stuff that is constantly bothering me on the MacBook Pro. You open it up and you get pop-up windows for 6 different things. Finally, I thought, after years, okay, well, go onto YouTube and look up tutorial videos and see if you can get rid of all of that stuff. There's got to be a way to get rid of all that stuff, even in an anal retentive company like Apple. Turns out there are plenty of ways. So I am in the process of doing that. Another thing I thought that bothered me was, well, there's a little bit of nervousness involved because I paid $1,000 for this thing 7 years ago. And I have the naked machine, and I keep thinking, well, what if this slides off your lap and hits the floor at an odd angle, or what if it drops from a shelf or is knocked over by a certain someone? Then, I started to ask myself, is it bothering you in the back of your mind, those kinds of considerations? And I thought, well, you can do something about that. You can order a cover, a case for it, and I did. Now that came in the mail yesterday. A honeycombed armored case for the MacBook Pro that has rubber edges there. I confess, it isn't quite as good as I thought it would be. I think if this landed with the weight of this machine from 3 feet in the air on this corner, or especially on a corner like this, it would still break the machine. I think that it probably would. That doesn't look to me to be as great of protection as I would have hoped. But this is one of the only ones that I could find that was actually rubberized, that actually was designed for tightness rather than aesthetics, for toughness rather than the look of it. So I got it. It was a song. It was cheap as could be. I installed it, and we will see. It has decreased my anxiety about this thing just a little, and it's encouraged me to maybe get another. Maybe go looking on someplace. I looked at Amazon, the Amazon Marketplace, for one of these things. But maybe, I seem to recall one of you telling me that there was a website for all kinds of protective gear. It came up in connection with Kindle Paperwhites. But I seem to remember when I went there, I don't remember the name of the place, but I seem to remember that when I went there, there was gear for all kinds of things. So maybe I should find sites like that and see if there really is a fully armored protection for an older MacBook Pro. But that was something that came in the mail, was this protective cover for my MacBook Pro. So I'm gonna clear out all the bloatware that I can from this thing, strip out a lot of the stuff that's clogging up the memory, and I've got armor on it. Still holds the battery charge fantastically well. Maybe I can make it into a MacBook, my only remaining MacBook that I will enjoy using. That would be great. That would be great. I'm going to do stuff like that instead of going on eBay and buying 2 or 3 $80 Chromebooks. I'm not going to buy any more computers in the month of June. But that was one thing. And then we've got 2 packages in the mail that are book related. So let's see what this first one is. This is from a publisher. Do you want this, baby? No. No. Oh, maybe a little. No. She's a little bit dispirited because there's a change in the weather. there's a change in the weather. Boston is heading into heat and humidity, genuine heat and humidity for the first time in 2020. So she's a little bit dispirited. I think she can feel it before it gets here. So what have we got here? Oh my! Oh, goodness gracious. Okay, this is the New York Review of Books. They have a reprint line that is, I've mentioned before on this channel. It's incredibly adventurous and it's incredibly extensive. Has lots and lots of diehard fans, and yet their editorial team is on a completely different wavelength from me. They almost never reprint books that I want to read. And this is another case in point, but I will see if maybe this appeals. This is The Merchant of Prato by Iris Origo, with an introduction, a new foreword by Charles Nicholl, who I haven't read that introduction. I really like him. So the author lived from 1902 to 1988 and spent most of her writing life as a biographer. Her subject ranging from Lord Byron's daughter Allegra to the Italian poet Giacomo Leopardi to Pope Pius II. However, it is her own wartime diaries, War in the Val d'Orico. Yeah, okay, all right. Her wartime diaries are most read today, and I don't remember if New York Review of Books does them, but they're great. They were published. Oh, okay. They were published by NYRB Classics in 2018, and hailed as the work of a writer with the quote alert, perspicacious mind of a supremely intelligent person. Really? What's that look like? And in this book, we see Origo in the mode that first earned her renown. Here, she turns her discerning eye not to her own experiences, but to the everyday life centuries past. Her subject is Francesco di Marco d'Attini, a 14th century Tuscan who built an international banking and trading network after a tragic childhood marred by the Black Death, which claimed the lives of most of his family. This network included branches in Florence, Pisa, Avignon, Genoa, Barcelona, Valencia, Majorca, selling an uncategorizable, unscrupulously opportunistic range of goods. The author calls the endlessly adaptable and relentlessly ambitious d'Attini, quote, the forerunner of the businessman today. And upon his death, he left a treasure trove of 11,000 letters. Okay, I can't remember if I've seen this book. I'm sure I've seen copies of it at the Brattle, because this has been out for a while. In fact, let's find out. When was this printed? 1957. So I don't know if I've read it. I don't think that I have, but I'm sure that I've seen copies of it. And now I have a paperback. The tagline on the paperback is a biography of an early capitalist. So maybe I should send this to David Murphy and see what he can make of it. But anyway, the paper here says that it comes out in mid-July, and that could be true. That could be true. The dates are subject to flux because of the pandemic, but I bet if I looked online that would still be the case. So, okay, Iris Origo, that's great. I don't love this author, but maybe that's because I don't know her well enough. And then we have another package here. The second package is from the Wethersfield Proctor Library, that hotbed of corruption and scandal. Oh, I bet I know what this is. Oh my, I bet I know what this is. God bless them. Mark Richardson of Richardson Reads is the director, the library director of the Wethersfield Proctor Library, and he just used their stamp to send me. He and his wife have been getting me comics from their comic shop out of reflex because my comic shop was closed here in Boston. My comic shop has reopened, but it's not on my route. Nothing else on that route has reopened. So it would be the one thing I would do. It's now become out of my way. And theirs isn't. So, oh wow, okay. So they got me comics and sent them to me. This is Superman Giant. One of these things with the banner on top there. These were originally done for Walmart. DC Comics did these for Walmart. They are 1 original story and 4 reprints. And 4 or 5 reprints in a bigger issue for this is probably very expensive. Yes. Do I want to know? Wow, it doesn't have a price. Oh yes, it does. $5. So if you've been following relatively recent Superman and Action Comics stuff, then this probably wouldn't be worth your time because you'd only be getting 1 original thing and you'd already have all the others. I have not been following Superman or Action Comics recently, so all of this will be new to me. How wonderful. But then this other thing, the other comic they sent was the whole reason, and this is the Legion of Superheroes. Unfortunately, it's Brian Michael Bendis, but this is the Legion of Superheroes number 6. Brian Michael Bendis was told by the powers that be at DC Comics, here is a 50-year-old product. The Legion of Superheroes, a team of superpowered teenagers 1,000 years in the future, and it's yours. Do anything you want with it. Change it in any way you like. We don't care. We don't care about comics, so go ahead. The Legion of Superheroes is yours. That is, of course, wrong. And no matter what damage Bendis does to them, and he's done a huge amount of damage to Superman, no matter what damage he does to them, that is still wrong. Just because you were given the ability to do it doesn't mean it's true. You are a custodian only of these things. They were made and shepherded and loved and nurtured long before you were born by a whole bunch of more creative people than you are. When you get the Legion of Superheroes or the X-Men or the Avengers or Superman or Batman or Batgirl, you are a shepherd. You are a custodian of that title. It's your job to produce fantastic stories utilizing that title, but not to mar it, not to fundamentally alter its DNA. That is neither your job nor your right. And I shouldn't fulminate quite so much, because so far, Bendis' run on the Legion, 6 issues in, I haven't read 6 yet. I'll read this one today. So far, his run hasn't been that bad. It hasn't had anything like the continuity-altering atrocities that he did to Superman as soon as he got his hands on it. And I have heard rumors, very, very faint rumors. I don't know that anybody at DC cares. I know that nobody at Warner cares. I've heard faint rumors that Bendis is leaving the Superman titles, and that the powers that be in DC that do care about their comic book run, which isn't many, there aren't many executives that can even name what comics they sell, let alone care about them, but the powers that be who do care, I've heard faint rumors that not only will champagne corks be popped when Bendis leaves, but that the entirety of his run will be declared out of continuity. That would be amazing. If Bendis leaves the comic and suddenly Superman and Lois Lane have a little child, Jonathan Kent, who's 8 years old, instead of a sultry, pouting teenager, it might play bloody havoc with the Legion of Superheroes, although I don't see why not. He's going to become a teenager, right? In time, you could still have a teenage. It's not like Jonathan Kent is leaving the 31st century in every issue of the Legion and going back to the 21st century. No. He's in the issue every issue. It could still work. He's going to grow up to be this age anyway. But Bendis ruined a beautiful thing. The Superman family. Superman and Lois Lane with a little boy growing up as a family unit. He ruined a beautiful thing like that, and let's not even talk about him bringing back Superman's father, Jor-El, who survived the destruction of the planet that he predicted and alone advocated against. An utter amount of violence. Just ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. It'd be the equivalent of Bendis coming on the title and saying, well, you know what? You know that great story where Doomsday kills Superman? I want to retcon that so that Doomsday was actually Lana Lang. They'd let him do it. I guess. I have no idea the currency that a pile of cocaine on a coffee table in a DC office can get you. But they'd let him do it if he suggested that. They'll let him do anything. So I should count my blessings that so far his Legion of Superheroes is fairly traditional. We'll see. This issue could change everything. We'll see. But there's something else in this envelope. I can't help but notice. There's something in here that's not. The library gets all sorts of books. Not just new acquisitions, but look at this. Son of a gun. This is Groff Conklin, his anthology called Great Stories of Space Travel. With Isaac Asimov, Ray Bradbury, Arthur C. Clarke. It reminds me of that Simpsons episode where Martin wants to have a science fiction club at the school. And he says, we'll have the great works by Asimov and Clarke and Bester. And one of the kids says, what about Ray Bradbury? And Martin says, I'm aware of his work. Oh, wow. Okay, well, great. So this has Lester Del Rey, Jerome Bixby, Ray Bradbury, Jack Vance, A.E. Van Vogt, Murray Leinster, Damon Knight, Arthur C. Clarke, Isaac Asimov, Poul Anderson, and Eric Frank Russell. Wow, okay, great. Well, this is another science fiction anthology. I'm gobbling these things up in 2020. So there you go. That is the mail. We got 2 comic books, Superman and Legion of Superheroes. Doesn't get more on the nose than that. And an old anthology of science fiction, of space travel stories. Fantastic. Plus, armor for my MacBook Pro. We'll see if this, if I pound away on the MacBook Pro, will I be more comfortable on it. And this thing, the latest New York Review of Books, a classic. We'll see what we make of it. It comes out in July, so I probably won't get to it immediately, but I will get to it. So that is the mail for today. kind of a varied lot, plus a little bit from yesterday. But I'm going to wrap this up for now, but I'll be back. Thank you, BookTube.